At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Houston Astros. Friday Night Baseball on SNY is brought to you by Time Warner Cable. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets open a weekend series against the Houston Astros. You know, 50 years ago, the Mets and the Colt 45s, as they were then known, came into the National League together as co-expansion teams. In that first year, they lost a combined 216 games. Won't be quite that bad this year, but both teams struggling right now coming in. This has been an up-and-down history with these two franchises. It certainly met in the middle in 1986.
Well, we certainly had the great playoff against them, and I think also you can see the numbers right there over the 50 years. You always say, Gary, in '69 when the Mets won the World Series, they at the Colt 45s, or were they the Astros, and I forget. It doesn't really matter. They beat them badly during the season. Well, we knew we had our hands full in '86 with this squad, with that pitching staff of Mike Scott, Nolan Ryan, and Bob Nepper, but we were able to eke it out in 6.
And now, 50 years later, this series will be the last go-round between these two teams before the Astros move to the American League next year. That's very strange. Well,
it's going to be very, very weird that they're not going to be in the National League anymore, obviously, and there's been so many different transitions now with the 3 divisions. You know, if you go back, I remember Atlanta was in the Western Division, so there's been all kinds of changes. This is just another one in the evolution of baseball.
Meanwhile, the Mets coming off the 4-game sweep at the hands of the Colorado Rockies, in which they got great starting pitching in all 4 games. We'll roll out the guy who's been their most consistent pitcher lately, Jonathan Niese.
Well, Niese, as always, it's just developed this year like I've always felt he would. He's 10-6 on the year. He's really, I think, their best pitcher right now with he and RA. Obviously, he's got a 2-game winning streak. He's won his last 3 out of 4. Lifetime 1-2 against the Astros.
And for the Astros, the youngest starting pitcher in the major leagues, right-hander Jordan Lyles.
Well, he's a South Carolinian, #1 draft pick back in 2008. You have to go to Cesar Cedeno at 19 and Larry Durker at 18 back in 1962, I believe, or 4, when they made their younger debuts in this young man. He's been getting wrapped around pretty good, but they love his stuff. We'll take a look tonight.
So it's the Mets and the Astros. It's merengue night at Citi Field. Mets are 9-3 all-time on merengue night. Did you know that? All the action's coming your way on SNY. To you by Time Warner Cable. Enjoy all the things you love better. TV, internet, and home phone from Time Warner Cable. By Geico. By Hyundai. New Hyundai owners are talking about their cars in the booth. By Bob's Discount Furniture. Donate blood for the American Red Cross at MetLife Stadium tomorrow from 8 to 2, and you could win Giants and Bob's Discount Furniture prizes. By Acura. Advance. And by State Farm. Today's State Farm agent of the game is Pat Cawley of Glendale. Contact Pat's office at patcawley.org. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to take advantage of new low pricing and see every remaining Mets out-of-market game live online and on your favorite devices in HD quality. Visit Mets.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. Here's your Mets' upcoming schedule. You can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. We're on Pix 11 the next 2 afternoons for the final 2 games of this series. Then the Mets go to Philadelphia, Miami, and St. Louis on the next road trip, with all the games to be seen right here on SNY. That takes us to a very early AT&T trivia question. We figured we'd throw this at you with all the different names the Astros have. Can you name the current Astros manager before we come back from break? They fired Brad Mills not long ago. Can you name the current Astros manager, who, by the way, is 0-4 since taking over the job? Terry Collins still in the Mets dugout. First pitch from Citi Field is coming right up. Answer our AT&T trivia question. The Astros manager is Tony DeFrancesco, a New York native, born in Suffern, grew up in the Bronx, has a whole bunch of family and friends here. He was managing the Astros AAA affiliate in Oklahoma City and named the interim manager this week, taking over for Brad Mills. And there's Tony looking for his first win as a big league skipper. And here's his lineup tonight against John Neese and the Mets, brought to you by Hyundai. Jose Altuve, who went to the All-Star game, still having a terrific year for the Astros at the top, and a whole lot of retreads in the middle. Ben Francisco, Steve Pearce, Tyler Green all have come to the Astros within the last month. Red Wallace back from the minor leagues, stay at third and play first base, but pretty much a no-name group for the Astros, who are 39-86 on the year.
And they certainly are a no-name. And Jonathan Neese here, as you can see, the left-hander. This will be Jonathan's 25th start of the year. Won his last 3 out of 4. His home runs have come down lately. Remember, he had the 19 home runs he's given up on the season, most to right-handers, but he's kind of solved that problem, been keeping the ball in the ballpark, and he doesn't walk people. His control has really stepped up this year. Alexis Met's defense, 24th start of the season for Turner. Turner really has accepted his role this year, much more playing time last year due to the injuries, and really pretty much just the utility infielder here, but he's getting a start.
There's your umpiring crew. Brian O'Nora calling the balls and strikes tonight. Chad Fairchild at first. David Rackley, a rookie umpire, at second. And the crew chief, Tom Hallion, works at third. Two very struggling teams going head-to-head tonight. The Mets have lost 29 of their last 40. The Astros, almost incomprehensibly, have lost 43 of their last 50. Think about that for a moment. June 27th, they were 32-43, 11 games under 500. Not good, but certainly competitive. Since then, they are 7-43.
Well, they unloaded their players also. Carlos Lee, of course, to the Marlins. And Wandy Rodriguez, they're really their ace, went to the Pirates. This is a team that is really in transition, and they're going to go to the American League next year. And good Lord, I wish them luck.
Well, they are trying to break it down completely and then build it up from scratch. They got a passel of prospects in those deals for Lee, for Jay Happ, Brandon Lyon, Brett Myers, Wandy Rodriguez, Chris Johnson, all traded away in and around the trading deadline. And so it's a whole bunch of young players and a couple of retreads for the Astros as they try and wend their way toward their trip to the American League. They'll even have new colors next year. They're going to a blue and orange color scheme and no more red. Jose Altuve leads off, takes a strike from John Neeson. We're underway. Altuve 9th in the National League in batting, hitting at .304. He has certainly been a big bright spot at age 22. Marwin Gonzalez waiting on deck. And Altuve takes a fastball on the inside edge, and it's 0-2. Altuve, 141 hits this year, 45 multi-hit games. He has had himself a terrific season.
And an all-star.
Slowly hit. David Wright snags the ground ball, and the quick toss to retire Altuve for the first out of the night.
Well, you know, those colors you're mentioning, I'm sure they're going to be navy blue, were the original colors of the Colt 45s. They were the orange and navy. And I always thought that was a good-looking uniform, really, with that pistol with the smoking gun. But, you know,
then they
I also liked the Detroit, the Baltimore Bullets uniform, too.
Baltimore Bullets. I mean, like the Earl Monroe, yes. Kevin Loggery Baltimore Bullets?
Gus Johnson.
Yep. Marwin Gonzalez playing third base. Rookie, Rule 5 pick out of the Cubs organization, and he takes ball one. Gonzalez a switch hitter, but hitting just 133 from this side of the plate. John Neese won the last game that the Mets won. That was Saturday in Washington. He went 7 1/3 terrific innings. No runs, 5 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts. Beat the Nats and Edwin Jackson, who pitched really well that day as well. 2-0 on a Mike Davis home run. Since then, the Mets have lost 5 in a row. And a ground ball down to Davis at first, and he'll handle this one himself to retire Gonzalez, and quickly there are 2 out. The Astros are next to last in the National League in runs scored. They're near the bottom of just about every category. 14th in on-base percentage, 14th in slugging percentage. So there has not been a whole lot to work with either before or after the purge of their more veteran talent.
And you look on the other side of the slate, their pitching staff is next to last, and that's at 4.80, a 4.80 ERA. They're giving up, they're 15th in home runs, 13th in walks. They don't strike out people.
Here's Brett Wallace, just back a few weeks ago from the minor leagues after having a rough year last year. He's had just 104 at bats with the Astros. He was hitting 300 in AAA, 16 home runs, and has been swinging the bat well since coming back up. Grounds this one foul down past your old friend Dan Radisson, who now coaches first for the Astros.
Yes, and Dan Rad and I were teammates back in 73, Danny? No, 74 with those Tulsa Oilers.
Third base coach is Dave Clark, who managed to survive when the manager and 2 of the coaches were fired. 1-1 to Brett Wallace, and Neese misses away. 2 balls and a strike. John has now gone 14 straight starts in which he's gone at least 6 innings and walked 2 or fewer. So he has been on a tremendous roll now for a couple of months. One of his worst starts of the year came in Houston earlier this year. Gave up a couple of early home runs, 5 runs in 3 innings, and an early exit for him.
Well, if you take away 3 of his starts this year, when he gets hit, he does get rocked, and he would without those 3 starts where he gave up 7, 6, and 8 runs, be a whole lot different ERA. But you know, sometimes when you don't have it, that's what happens.
And now is the proving ground for John, trying to prove that he can finish the season strong and healthy, which he's really never done yet in his young career. Last year was hurt right about this time of year and missed the last 5 weeks. Past Neese, deflected out to Turner. Makes the quick toss, not in time, and Wallace beats it out for an infield hit. You know, Neese mostly trying to get out of the way, somehow swiped that ball over to Turner, but took too much of the air out of it, and Wallace able to beat it out.
Well, Wallace doesn't run real well, if I recall. Big, strong legs. Oh, he cut off his calf there, didn't it? Just beat it. And that's called smelling that hit.
So an infield hit for Wallace. He's aboard for Ben Francisco. Francisco has kicked around quite a bit the last few years. Saw him with the Phillies a couple of years ago.
Well, close play here, and there's the stretch from Ike. He's beat it easily, though. So Francisco, when he came over from, was it Cleveland to the Phillies, they had big hopes for him. But the big long swing, remember that series, the first series in Philadelphia, the wind blowing in?
He had 2 bombs that were held in by the wind, and it really had an impact, it seemed, on his whole season.
He hit 2 bombs, and the wind was blowing in April there. And usually in the summer the wind blows out to left.
1-2 from Neese, and the curveball stays outside.
But he's got a big long swing, and he doesn't know anything but swinging for the downs.
Came over from Toronto a month ago in the 10-player trade that sent Jay Happ and Brandon Lyon on their way. And that curve is lined to left, and right there is Valdespin to pick it off, and that retires the side. An infield hit and 1 left. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score. Geico, Terry Collins saying Daniel Murphy is flat out of gas. He's going to give him today and tomorrow off. Justin Turner starts at second base. Mike Baxter slides into the 2-hole behind Ruben Tejada as the Mets 2 runs or fewer 6 straight games try and get it going against Jordan Lyles.
Well, good stuff here. He's a very youngster, #1 draft pick, as we said in the open. And it's the first time I've seen him. He did not fare well last year in his rookie season, and is not faring well this year.
Ruben Tejada hitting at .308 for the year. Lyles 2-10 on the season. He's lost his last 6 decisions. In fact, since his last win at the end of June, he's made 9 starts, gone 0-6, 6.79. Most recently against Arizona Saturday, give up 7 runs in 4 innings. So it's not gone well for Lyles. But again, he is the youngest starting pitcher in Major League Baseball right now, even though this is his 2nd big league season, making his 19th start of the year. And the breaking ball low and away to Tejada, 1-2. He'll throw his fastball about 91 miles an hour. He's been throwing a lot of curveballs lately. Lyles out of Hartsville, South Carolina, drafted out of high school by the Astros.
And I can see right now, if he's not getting his curve over, then he's got to come with the fastball and get his lunch. If he gets it over, he's going to be successful. He's had some good starts.
Doug Brocail, pitching coach for the Astros. 2-2. Bounce slowly down to third. Gonzalez charges and makes the play on Tejada, 1 away.
Well, the Astro defense, the Coors Light Astro defense. Well, that's a lot of errors, 3rd most. So, you know, we always say, Gare, when the 2nd division clubs come in the course of 3 or 4 games, sometimes 2 games, sometimes 1, you find out why they are in the bottom of the heap. They just don't play well.
Well, the Astros are going beyond not playing well right now. The Mets aren't playing well. The Astros are in a historic stretch right now as Mike Baxter steps in. Mike, remember, made that base running mistake yesterday that might have cost the Mets. Unsure what to do between 1st and 2nd on what looked like a base hit by Ruben Tejada, and he got forced out at 2nd.
Yeah, there's a play right in front of him, too.
Hit to shortstop, played on a hop by Tyler Green, and the quick toss gets Baxter 2 away. It's one thing Jordan Lyles has done a lot better lately, is get a lot more ground balls. We'll see. There's the stretch that Houston is in right now. 43 of their last 50, and it's only been done since 1900 that a team's lost 43 out of 50 at any stretch 3 separate times, and each time it was done by the Philadelphia Athletics. 1915, 1916, and as you can see right there, for the last time in 1937.
Wow.
Here's David Wright with 2 out and nobody on. David's now 91 at bats deep into his home run slump, looking for number 200 on his career. He's also gone 10 games now without driving in a run, as the Mets have gone into a collective funk in terms of driving in runs. David still 5th in the league in batting at .318, 2nd in the league in on base percentage. And Lyles misses inside, a ball and a strike. Ike Davis would be next. And David takes the breaking ball for a strike, 1-2.
Well, we mentioned that Lyles is the youngest pitcher in Major League Baseball right now. Good fastball inside.
And he takes care of Wright to end the inning. So Lyles has a 1-2-3 opening inning. When we come back, Kevin Burkhardt is going to talk about the between starts routine for John Neese, who takes the mound for the 2nd with no score. Neese allowed an infield hit in the first inning, and he goes back to the mound for the second to face Steve Pearce, the right fielder. When the Astros start trading off all their parts around the trading deadline, they needed major league ready players because most of what they got back in those deals were prospects. And so they started picking up scrap pieces, and Steve Pearce was on waivers. He was acquired from Baltimore, and now he's played 19 games with the Astros, hitting .262 for the year, and he takes off the outside corner, ball and a strike. Pearce, Tyler Green, and Chris Snyder for Houston in the second inning. Green, another recent acquisition for Houston. And there's a good changeup by Neese. He's been throwing a few more of those lately. 1-2 now to Pearce, who has played in the big leagues with the Pirates and the Orioles. And the curveball got him. So Neese has his first strikeout of the night, 1 out and nobody on. Time Warner Cable helps you enjoy all the things you love better. For more on John Neese, here's Kevin Burkhardt.
Well, everyone has their routine between starts, what they need to do to get their body ready, their mind ready, everything from start to start. And Jonathan Neese has tweaked his a little bit over the years, especially this year, easing back on some of the weights that he's done just to finish the season strong. We're going to chronicle that in this inning here. And just to give you an idea, here's what he does day to day after a start. His last start was Saturday in D.C. So Sunday he does what's called a flush it out run. 25 minutes, just runs all of the bad things in the muscles out of his system, and the outfield, runs around the track, does that whole thing in the stadium the very next morning. Then does about an hour workout. He's got legs and core and everything. They're really a big time workout for him. The only difference with the extra rest that the Mets have had on this 6-day rotation, which is now coming, 6-man rotation, which is now coming to an end, is there's a day of basically not doing much, just running. The only thing that John does is run every day, as he gets a quick punch out here. And that's the only thing that he does every day, is just the running issue. But you can see him running here the day after. Again, Tuesday, Monday, not much going on. Just a 90-foot soft toss, a couple of sprints. Tuesday was his bullpen session. That's the big issue for him. Does the bullpen, also does a upper body workout, and then does some hitting in the cage after that as well. Wednesday, long sprints, does about 8 of them from 120 feet, does the 90-foot toss, and on that toss, it's really the last real toss of the week for him. As he comes in and gets closer, he throws all of his pitches just to get a good feel for all of his pitches. Yesterday, to get ready, just really an extended stretch for Neese. 90 feet, short sprints. Every once in a while he'll run a couple of poles, but that's really it. The only consistent thing is the running. He took out an extra day of weightlifting from last year, and he feels, guys, that it's really helped him just maintain the strength. He feels terrific right now physically as he comes down the stretch, which, as we know, has been problematic for him the last couple of years.
If he tweaked his routine, Kevin, is that completely on his own, or is that in consultation with the strength and conditioning people? How does that work?
Well, it's a little of both, but it was his idea. You know, he's been running every day. That was the biggest thing. And I said, you know, running every day, does that get your legs tired at all? And he said, you know, honestly, no, because taking away the extra day of lifting has really made me feel fresh. So it's really not the running, not the issue. The running is great for the conditioning, but it was the extra weightlifting and the recovery that I think, you know, may have affected me. Not saying that it did, but may have.
2-2 to Chris Snyder. There's the video session that John did on Thursday to get ready for this start.
It's actually, Gary, a huge part of what he does. He said he looks at videos starting 2 days before his start. And you saw there he has the main computer. The Mets have a computer system set up. But he's also got an iPad, which he says he'll even pop in between innings during a game and watch, and it's incredible. The Mets, and I'm assuming a lot of the other teams too, have an app. He pops on the app. He could punch in anything he wants. Opposing hitters against him. Hitters recently, because here's a walk, Gary. He punches in whatever he likes. His preference, though, is to watch left-handers against the team he's going to face. And he said, you know, I like to see how they react, especially for a team like the Astros that haven't faced very often against a left-hander. And I said, what else specifically are you looking for in that video session? He said, for me, if my stuff is not on, I'm looking at a couple things there in that video. I want to see how other guys have gotten them out. You know, maybe if I don't have my curveball that day and I have to stay away from that, I want to see what other guys have used to get them out. And I also want to see what other guys have used that's gotten hammered to stay away from that too. So I'm looking for things that I can really use if I don't have my A game. Because honestly, if I have my A game, I'm going with my strengths.
Okay, not everybody has the same stuff as Jonathan Neese, though, Kevin, right? I mean, there's some guys that have sliders, and, you know, so I just think there's too much reliance on that computer. It's just like if you pitch to a 230 hitter the same way you pitch to a Derek Jeter, or you're going to go after a 220 hitter differently. Not every pitcher has the stuff of Jonathan Nice. So you're watching other left-handers with mediocre stuff, and there's a lot of it around here. I would just focus on what I have. I would look at the good pitchers, because he's in the category of the good pitchers. That's what I would do. I would look at the top left-handers. Clayton Kershaw. The guys from the Giants, they just can't grasp his name right now. The left-hander, Bumgarner, and see what they're doing to get these guys out. How they hit off the top left-handers. Just my opinion.
He's ahead on Brandon Barnes 1-2 after walking Chris Snyder with 2 out. Well, I think, Kevin, it gives a pretty good idea about how much goes into a pitcher's routine between starts, as Barnes takes inside 2-2. But I think in John's case, trying to get through this last 5 weeks of the season, which has been the bugaboo for him, it's also about what he did all winter. And a full count to Barnes.
Now, I know you don't play the teams with as much frequency, Gare, with the 3 divisions. And Jonathan's 1-2 career in his young career against Houston. But there comes a time when you got to file it into your own head how you got player X out, and how I got player Y out, and how player Z beat me. Not the computer.
Well, Keith, he did say that, against teams that he faces like the NL East, he doesn't watch nearly as much video. He watches much more specific things that he wants to see. Like for a team like the Astros, I've definitely watched him more this week because I'm unfamiliar with a lot of these guys. So I think there is something to what you're saying for him.
Kevin, it's a very valid point. And it's just the three divisions.
Barnes drives one to the gap in left center field. That goes all the way back to the wall. Snyder was running with the pitch, so he'll come around and score. And pulling in at second is Barnes with an RBI double, and the Astros take the early 1-0 lead. So Brandon Barnes, just his 6th big league hit and his first major league double, and he drives in the first run of the game. So after Nice easily handled the first 2 hitters in the inning, went to a full count and walked Snyder, goes to another full count and gives up the double to Barnes.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The walk to Snyder was a borderline strike. Let me tell you, he could have got that call. Didn't miss by much, if it missed at all. And there was just a fastball out over the plate, right down the pipe.
So Houston has the early lead. And now the pitcher Jordan Lyles, just 3 for 27 on the year. And he takes the fastball inside for ball 1. John's been trying to work that inside part of the plate against the right-hand batters. Fastballs and cutters. And a fastball strike, 1-1 to Lyles. A lot of pitches in these first 2 innings for John. He gets the curveball over 1-2. Jose Altuve, the leadoff hitter, would be next if Lyles keeps the inning going. And he drives one down the left field line. That'll bring in a run. Barnes is in to score. Tough carom for Valdespin, but no impact as Lyles will stop at second with an RBI double. So it's the 7, 8, and 9 hitters in this offensively challenged Houston lineup that rattled John Nice's cage, and it's 2-0 Houston.
Another fastball. There's the grip right there, 4-seamer. And well, I'll tell you what, he got it inside, and that's your pitcher up there. Give him credit, he ripped it.
First extra base hit of the season for Jordan Lyles, his 3rd run batted in. And that'll bring a meeting to the mound. This is the kind of thing that used to plague John Nice that appeared to have been a thing of the past. 2 out and nobody on, and all of a sudden lapses of concentration cost him a walk, and 2 doubles by the 7, 8, and 9 hitters has cost him 2 runs.
Well, I don't feel that pitch to the Jordan Lyles was a mistake. It was inside corner. to pitcher up there. It did make a mistake to Barnes. So now it's just stop the bleeding right here and get Altuve out and go in there. It's just 2 runs. Hold it there.
Jose Altuve, the toughest out in the lineup. Grounds it out to third base his first time up. And Altuve, first pitch swinging, grounds one out to Turner. And that'll do it for the inning. But the Astros post a pair on RBI doubles by the 8 and 9 hitters. 2-0 Houston as we go to the bottom of the second. Performance in Washington his last time out, but a rough inning as he gives up a couple of runs against the Astros.
I think he's angry at the close call. He thought he should have got that one call, but now they've been in the dugout. I like to see anger.
Mets been getting great starting pitching. That was certainly not their issue in the series against the Rockies. Their starters gave up 4 earned runs in 4 games, and yet they lost all 4. Ike Davis leads off in the second with the Mets down 2-0. Now expressing himself to R.A. Dickey and very perturbed, whether it's at himself or otherwise. And Davis takes a fastball high from Jordan Lyles, who's staked to a 2-0 lead. Davis, Turner, and Valdespin for the Mets in the bottom of the second. Turner plugged into the lineup to replace Murphy and kept Wright where Murphy would bat against a right-hander in that 5-hole as the changeup from Lyles sits high, and it's 2-0. Ike with 22 home runs, 68 driven in. The batting average right now at .220. And he fouls back the fastball, 2-1. Mets were shut out yesterday by the Rockies, the 4th time in the last 15 games they've been shut out, after only being shut out 4 times in the first 110 games. Mets offense, which midway point of the season was 3rd in the National League in runs, is now dropped to 9th in the league. First time all year the Mets have been in the bottom half of the league in runs scored. So it has been a precipitous fall for this offense. And now facing a pitcher who came in to the night with 2 wins and 10 losses and an ERA of over 5.5. 3-2 now to Davis. Meanwhile, the Rockies moved on to Chicago today, and they had a lead into the bottom of the 8th, only to see the Cubs score 3 in the 8th and beat them. See that current streak for the Mets. They went 7 straight games in '82 without scoring more than 2 runs. Here's the 3-2, and Davis fouls it off. There's your Empire City stat on home runs as a first baseman this year. Only Albert Pujols and Adam LaRoche have hit more than Ike Davis, which is odd because you think of first base as a big home run position.
Well, how about Fielder at 22? That's down for him.
Certainly is.
Is he back on that diet again?
Inside, and Davis is on with a walk, and Ike has been drawing more walks lately, chasing fewer bad pitches. So the Mets have their first base runner of the night against Lyles, who has only averaged 2.7 walks per 9 innings. And now Justin Turner getting a chance to play with Daniel Murphy being rested.
This is the 24th start of the year for Justin Turner. And boy, I don't recall him, 7 starts at first base, 7 at second, 3 at third, and 6 at shortstop. I don't recall that. Is that something?
When Ruben Tejada first got hurt, Turner filled in there at short, because Ronnie Cedeno was out as well, if you'll recall. Even David Wright had to fill in at shortstop in one game, as the Mets were short, no pun intended, at that position. Jordani Valdespin, who's also played some shortstop this year, waiting on deck. And so Lyles, just handed a lead, falls behind his second straight hitter, 2-0. And Turner, remember, last year had over 400 at bats. He was pretty much a regular with Daniel Murphy getting hurt, and the Mets started out the year with Brad Emis at second base, and that became a revolving door.
Well, this is only his 134th at bat this season. Not plate appearance, at bat. So it's been a new role for him, and he's accepted it.
Pair of 29s at first base. Good hit and run count if you want to go that way. Turner gets jammed and fouls it off.
Up and in, didn't want to swing at that one. I don't think you'd want to hit and run with Ike, just even though Turner is a good hit and run guy. Ike at first base is just not fast enough early in the ball game, although Turner does handle the bat well and is a good hit and run guy.
You would also think that when you're struggling as mightily as the Mets are to score, that sometimes you might want to push the envelope in areas where you wouldn't otherwise. Second straight full count for Lyles.
Well, this will be interesting here. Do you let Davis run here, or do you hold him? Because if it's a strike him out, it's going to be a strike him out and throw him out.
Lyles is not a big strikeout pitcher, just over 6 per 9 innings.
I'd send him.
Turner only 18 strikeouts this year and 133 at bats, so a pretty good combination for making contact. And Ike almost got happy feet over at first base. He's not used to having guys check in on him. See, the Astros have their 50th anniversary patch on their hats. The Mets have it on their sleeves, having come into the league the same year in 1962. And another toss over.
There's the Mets logo.
And Ike is running, and Turner lines one into right center field. That falls for a base hit. Davis will go first to third. And the Mets have runners at the corners and nobody out. So Turner with the Mets' first hit of the night.
Well, it's something that Turner does real well. They want the ball away, and it's in. And he can just play it the other way. Kind of muscles it into right center field, and Ike will easily go to third because he's on the run. And so
the Mets with a scoring chance after falling behind 2-0. Mets had all sorts of scoring chances yesterday against Colorado, left 12 runners on base and went 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position as they got shut out. In fact, if you go back to the 1st of August, this month the Mets are hitting 170 as a team with runners in scoring position. And the curveball in for a strike to Valdespin.
So the words got out on Valdespin. You got a young pitcher out there, 21 years old, really getting roughed up in his first year and a half in the big leagues, and leads Valdespin off with a curveball. And another one.
And they check out the swing, and Tom Hallion says he didn't. 1 ball, 1 strike.
So they know that Valdespin, like any young hitter, he's got a quick bat and pop, that he likes to hit that fastball.
Slow ground ball. Wallace is going to come home with it, and Davis tagged out by Chris Snyder. So that's the first out of the inning as Wallace cuts down Davis at the plate.
Well, good heads up by Wallace right there. The ball in front, can't turn 2. Davis, of course, is going to run on contact first and third. Didn't rush the throw. Out by a mile.
And Snyder not giving Davis any plate to slide at.
That's how you properly protect the plate if you're a catcher, and use 2 hands on the tag. Valdespin just rolled over that sinker right there. So this young pitcher right here, Lyles, and we're going to show the tag here. See where his left foot is in front of the plate? There's a block. Look at that. Slide right in. Never touched it.
And we saw Terry Collins talking with Davis in the dugout, and I'm wondering, is that because Terry would have preferred for Ike to get in a run down there to try and allow the runners to move up?
That's a possibility, sure. But, you know, Ike's not the quickest of foot. I guess you can try and get him to second and third. But he's definitely going to break home on that ball. The one read on his part could be, you know, the ball's hit in front of the first baseman. Just hold your ground, not hit hard enough. Maybe even to get the lead runner, but that's, you know, those are the instincts of the game and thinking on your feet.
Because generally with first and third, you want to be running on contact just so they won't turn the double play. So Turner now at second, Valdespin at first with 1 out. Andres Torres just 2 for his last 25. Grounds a double play ball. Altuve with the flip, Green with the turn, in time for the double play, and the Mets are turned aside. Mets at first and third and nobody out, and they do not score as Torres grounds into the 4-6-3 double play. Altuve starting off with a quick flip on a ball that came up on him, and Green with a nice job in the middle. Sunday host Tiffany Simons talks with newest Met Kelly Shopik. Hear his thoughts on being traded to New York. Plus, catch up with Frank Viola at his latest gig in the Mets organization. Popped up bunt, and John Neese takes care of it. Off the bat of Marwin Gonzalez for the first out. That's Mets Weekly, presented by W.B. Mason. New episode Sunday at 6, only on SNY. So Gonzalez retired on one pitch. 1 out and nobody on. Now Brett Wallace, who banked one off Neese for an infield hit in the first inning. Brett Wallace, who played with Ike Davis at Arizona State. They've tried him at third base. That hasn't worked out. And he lines one into center field. And there is Tejada in shallow center to grab it for the second out. So Wallace retired. And quickly Neese has 2 out and nobody on. Now the left fielder Ben Francisco, who lined out to left his first time up. So you see these trade talks that are apparently brewing between the Red Sox and the Dodgers.
How about that?
That would involve Josh Beckett and Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford all going to the Dodgers.
The Dodgers all of a sudden have an unlimited bank.
It seems that way, doesn't it? I mean, they paid over $2 billion for the team, and now it seems like they're trying to get the payroll up to that level.
And Beckett has been kind of a undermining force evidently in that clubhouse, and
well, he's also pitched horribly.
Yes, he has.
Not sure why the Dodgers would want to take that on, as Wright throws out Francisco. A 6-pitch inning for John Neese, a bounce back inning for him. That'll send us to the bottom of the third at Citi Field with the Astros up 2-0.
Lenny Dykstra, the man they call Nails on the Mets ball club, is waiting. Now the pitch. And a high fly ball hit the right field. It is fairly deep. It's way back by the wall. He did it! It's a home run! A home run! The Mets win the ball game. Dykstra hits the home run.
Game 3 of the National League Championship Series in 1986 at Shea.
We were behind in every game but game 2.
In that game, I think you were behind 4-0 early as Tolley tries to drop down a bunt. It's the last time you saw that.
We were not down early. We got up on Nolan. We got 5 runs early, but that we had to come back from a 4-0 deficit. Nepper was cruising again. He couldn't close the deal. And I mean, Lenny, I love Lenny's comment. It was like Stratomatic rolling the home run on Stratomatic. Game winner. He got some big hits.
Well, he certainly was not known as a home run hitter at that point. He would later fill out, helped by what he at that time called the good vitamins.
Yes.
When he went to the Phillies and hit a lot of home runs there. But he was a skinny dude at that time. And it came like a bolt from the blue with 1 out in the 9th.
Well, he could play center field. He was a spark plug like Mookie.
Thole, it's another weak ground ball. The pitcher's going to have to cover. And he does for the 4-1 putout. Thole now 0 for his last 15, and his at-bats have just been futile of late.
Well, he's also got to just kind of trot it into that dugout, too.
I was talking to Terry Collins about Thole today, and there have been such mixed messages sent to Josh over the last couple of weeks. Dave Hudgens trying to work with him on driving the ball more and pulling the ball more, and then Terry telling him a few days ago, hey, you got to go back to what got you to the big leagues, which is choking up, crouching, hitting the ball to left field. And right now it would appear as though Josh is caught somewhere in between.
He is befuddled.
0-2 to Nice, who swung the bat pretty well this year. 8 hits and a couple of RBIs. Ruben Tejada on deck. Mets had a good scoring chance in the second, first and third, and nobody out, but Lyles got out of it. And he has been the king of the ground ball so far. There's his second strikeout, and that's something new for Lyles, who was not a particularly good ground ball pitcher last year, but this year his ground ball numbers are way up, averaging 1.8 ground balls for every fly ball.
Well, he's got 2 fastballs. He's got a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer. So he runs that little sinker over. Remember, he's got the element of surprise here. He's never pitched against the Mets. First time through the order.
But they have video.
Yes, they do. But there's no substitute to getting into that box and seeing it.
Just pushing your buttons. That's the career record for Jordan Lyles. 4 wins and 18 losses, and some of that has to do with pitching for a team that's been awful since he's been there.
Well, not
as a call strike.
He's pitched some good ball games. He's been hit hard more than he's pitched well. But when he's pitched well, he's been able to go deep into games too. And why shouldn't he? He's a youngster.
We've mentioned several times during the broadcast that the Mets and the Astros came into the league together in 1962, and the Mets lost 120 games that first season. The Astros lost only 96. The Mets lost at least 110 games 3 of their first 5 years, but the Astros never lost 100 games in their entire history until last year when they lost 106. Slow ground ball, Green in front of it. So Lyles continues to get the ground balls, retires the Mets 1-2-3 in the third. On to the fourth we go, 2-0 Houston. John Neese goes back to the mound for the fourth as the youngsters take note.
Well, they'll be soon back to school.
They're here to watch a little baseball, maybe dance a little merengue tonight. That's going with their Los Mets jerseys on merengue night. Steve Pearce takes up and away for ball one. Pearce struck out his first time up. 29-year-old journeyman filling a spot in right field. Not in the lineup tonight for the Astros is the former Met Fernando Martinez, because the Mets are starting a lefty, but we should expect to see Fernando in there tomorrow against R.A. Dickey. Fernando let go by the Mets, taken on waivers by the Astros, and the oft injured outfielder, there he is, trying to forge a career now in Houston. Ball strike to Pearce, 2-2. I remember the first day we saw Fernando Martinez at Shea Stadium as a 16-year-old, blasting balls out of the ballpark.
Never can stay healthy, can he?
He had a concussion earlier this year playing in the minor leagues for Houston, but otherwise has been able to stay fairly healthy, and that's the amazing part. He's still only 23. You know, you think of him as a failed prospect, but he's still got time. Full count to Pearce, 3-2. And we certainly hope nothing for but the best for Fernando, and he certainly will have every opportunity with an Astros franchise that needs as much help as they can get. Pearce fouls one straight down.
Interesting looking at Neese. He doesn't have as good fastball tonight. He's been throwing in the high 80s, 88, 89, and he's short around 3 miles an hour on his fastball. It's a funny game, isn't it?
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Well, we talked earlier. Kevin Burkhardt was showing what Neese did between starts, including his bullpen session. He talked with Kevin about what he tries to accomplish during that bullpen.
Basically, I'm trying to keep all my pitches sharp. You know, I do towards the end of my wind up and stretch, I kind of picture hitters, but each pitch I'm thinking about the hitters and how I'm going to execute that certain pitch against certain guys.
So will you simulate counts and situations? Will you go that far as well?
Sometimes, but not all the time. Especially now towards the end of the season, where I'm getting, where guys get fatigued. I usually, for me personally, I do light bullpens and I don't throw that many pitches, more of a touch and feel kind of thing, and it keeps me a little bit more fresh. But with that being said, like I said, for each pitch that I throw in the bullpen, I imagine the hitters that I'm going to be facing the next outing, and I'll imagine that pitch and say, well, that pitch will be good for this guy, this pitch will be good for that guy.
What is the most important part of your in-between starts routine, do you think?
The bullpen is very important. I think the day after, when I do my flush run and lower body workouts, and then my bullpen days, I do an upper body workout. Those are probably two of the most important days. But the 2 days before are pretty important, just because that's when I look at video. I grab an iPad usually during the game and kind of look at the hitters.
It's all fascinating, isn't it?
Yes, it
is. The
is.
life of a starting pitcher. You know, he shows up there on the mound once every 5, or in this case 6 days, but there's so much that goes into getting the body ready from that the traumatic experience of pitching, because pitching, throwing overhand, throwing that hard is very traumatic to your body.
It's like they have a 5-day work week and they just rotate it over to the next.
Also interesting is the recovery aspect of it, guys. You know, every pitcher's a little different for how they ice and what they do right after they come out of a game. John doesn't ice after a start, never does. Says he doesn't feel like he needs it. But after a bullpen session, sometimes he does. He said it's funny. After games, normally my arm feels good. I've never really been a guy who's iced or believed in it that much. But after bullpens, there's times when my arm feels like it's dragging a little bit. I'll put the ice on just for a short time. So he's not really big into that. Some guys obviously believe in it very much.
Well, he's still young and still establishing his routine and still trying to find the end of the year.
You know, Gary, you spent a lot of time talking earlier about him finishing this year and you know, doing that for the first time. And already told you he eliminated 1 day of, you know, full workouts in the gym. And then he told you in that soundbite about the bullpen, how it's more of a touch and feel. It's not a really full go all bullpen.
Chris Snyder with a 2-out hit. So Snyder, who started the 2-run second inning for the Astros with a 2-out walk, here trying to do the same with a 2-out hit.
I believe this is a cutter. Yes, it is. And right down the pipe. And a mistake right there. And kept it in the ballpark. Didn't get hurt because Snyder's got some pop. He's got limited play this year. He's got 7 home runs.
So 2 out and a runner at first. Now Brandon Barnes, who doubled in the first run, takes a curveball for a strike. You know, one of the odd things, Kevin, about Nice's season has been this strange stat about how much better he's done when he's had extra rest, which, of course, every Met pitcher's been getting during this brief period of a 6-man rotation, and how much poorer he's done on regular rest. We'll talk more about that next inning as Turner snags the pop-up by Barnes, and Nice gets through the top of the 4th. Mets come to bat in the bottom, down 2-0. To you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Mike Baxter will lead off against Jordan Lyles. Houston with a 2-0 lead. Mets have had 2 base runners, a walk and a single from Davis and Turner to set the table in the 2nd, but the Mets returned aside. Baxter grounded out to short his first time up. And he takes a strike on the inside from Lyles. Kevin, we were talking last inning about Nice and the fact that he's been so much more successful on extra rest. And when you were talking to him about his routine, did he have any thoughts about that?
You know, he really didn't. I mean, he thought it was kind of an anomaly, and especially, you know, he didn't make the extra day of rest a big deal. He said, you know, all that has happened is there's an extra day before the bullpen session where I run and I do some light throwing. That's it. He said, do I think the extra rest has helped me? He didn't really know. I mean, it is crazy. I mean, the stats are nuts. He's 6-2 with a 2.17 with an extra day of rest. But, you know, he thinks it's kind of an anomaly, especially just talking about the conditioning that he feels like he's in. So it's hard to explain, Gary, because the numbers are so different. But he doesn't feel that there is a real excuse there.
1-2 to Baxter, and he punches one to short right at Green for the first out. By the way, Kevin made mention of it during the piece that the Mets are going to go back to a 5-man rotation next week. Today, after Colin McHugh made that spectacular debut, they have sent McHugh back to the minor leagues and brought Jeremy Hefner back from the paternity list. Hefner had to be activated because he's going to pitch on Sunday, and McHugh was going to go on the 8th day anyway if the Mets had stayed with the 6-man. So with an off day coming up on Monday, the Mets are going to go, at least for the moment, back to a 5-man rotation. McHugh will be back in 10 days, and he will be making starts in September. But what a first start that was yesterday.
He was terrific and got all his pitches over. The curveball got better as the game went along. And there you go.
Matt Harvey and Colin McHugh, most strikeouts in a debut in Mets history, doing it 4 weeks apart. Matt will make his next start in Philadelphia. So McHugh will probably make one start down in Buffalo and then come back. And there had been some talk about innings limits as far as Colin was concerned, as David Wright takes a rip and it's 2-1. But Terry Collins kind of put that to rest today. He said they went back, they looked at McHugh's innings last year, not only during the season but also what he threw in the Arizona Fall League last year. And when they added it up, they figured he's probably going to be able to pitch in rotation as David drives one down the right field line toward the corner, and it's out of here. Home run number 200 for David Wright. Well, David waited 4 weeks for that milestone. After going 92 at bats without a home run, he becomes the 3rd Met to hit 200 home runs in a Mets uniform. Number 17 on the year, and it gets the Mets on the board. It's 2-1.
Well, congratulations to David right there, getting over the 200 plateau, up to it. More importantly, Mets on the board. Runs have been hard to come by. And
Tony DeFrancisco is out talking with the first base umpire, Chad Fairchild, claiming that that ball was not a home run. But it certainly appeared from here, at least without benefit of replay, that it cleared the fence inside the pole.
I thought it hit the netting, to be honest with you.
In any event, David takes one the other way.
High fastball away. And he was set up away. That's on the pole.
Yeah, it hit the those little pieces at the bottom of the pole, and that clearly is a fair ball and over the fence. The umpires are gathering now, and they may go and take a look at a video replay. But that is clearly a home run. David's 200th career, and that gets a little monkey off his back. Not only had he gone 92 at bats without a home run, he had gone 10 games without driving in a run, and he breaks that streak with his 76th run batted into the season. So the umpires are talking about what they saw, and they're going to go look at a video review. So we'll have a little delay here as they confirm Wright's home run. Darryl Strawberry holds the Mets club record with 252 home runs as a Met. Mike Piazza hit 220, and now Wright joins that select company with number 200.
Well, he almost got beat a little bit there. He's just so strong upper body. Ball was away. He was looking away, and I know he feels good about that. That's been a while for him to get over that 200.
And you see it hit that base of the foul pole as we look at the Coors Light freeze cam right there. Clearly a fair ball and clearly over the fence. So no question for the umpires that it is a home run.
Looked like a pinball.
You know, I had never noticed that before, that they have that side screen on the outside of the pole.
Neither did I.
Which is actually helpful in terms of, you know, keeping that ball from sailing wide of the pole and making it difficult to see whether it is a home run. But there are the numbers. Your Tom Warner Cable Met home run leaders, with right now 3rd on the list. But you know, David's got an option year next year, and if he sticks around beyond that, he's going to own that record and plenty more in the Mets record book. This one, an important home run only in that it gets the Mets on the scoreboard. It's been so long, it seems, since they scored a run. It had been only 13 innings, but it feels a whole lot more than that.
A whole lot of frustration.
Mets were shut out yesterday for the 4th time in the last 15 games, but Wright ensures that won't happen today. For Jordan Lyles, the 20th home run he's given up this year in just 106 innings. The umpire is taking a little longer than you would have suspected to check it out. Ronnie Cedeno suggesting a telescope.
I would have thought the umpires would be out by now. It's pretty plain. It's inside right there.
All that housing at the bottom of the pole is part of the foul pole.
And they're going to say it's good.
Well, confirmation. The David's 200th career home run now official. And that guy officially has the ball. And you can see the security guard right behind him arranging for the what's going to be the exchange so that David can get his 200th home run ball.
He's texting.
Negotiations will be going on shortly.
He's on his calculator right there.
How much to charge? I want a bat. I want a ball. I want a uniform.
With interest.
Well, it took 2 minutes and 19 seconds for the umpires to review. So the Mets are on the board. It's 2-1 Houston, and here's Ike Davis. Ike drew a walk leading off in the second inning. And he takes a strike from Lyles. Anyway, we were talking about the Mets rotation and the way it's going to work going down the stretch, and the fact that Colin McHugh will apparently be able to pitch at least through most of September without reaching any predetermined innings limit. Matt Harvey will be somewhere in the same kind of territory. They're trying to limit Matt to about 170 innings.
No, there's also talk of calling up Henry Mejia, who's pitched very well starting. Didn't fare so well out of the bullpen. But boy, he's been on a tear once he's been starting, and there's talk that he will be called up and get some starts in September.
At least a couple, and again, after Tommy John surgery last year, they'll be careful with Mejia going down the stretch as far as his innings. But it was interesting listening to Terry talk about Mejia yesterday, because I think most of us, even while Henry was pitching as a starter in the minor leagues, have assumed all along that his future was as a reliever. And what Terry said is that what's happened recently with Mejia, that he fared so poorly in the bullpen and has done so well as a starter, that it might be changing the organization's thinking about him and what his future might be.
Well, he's one of those guys. He's slight. He's not a big guy, much like Santana, and a windup where he puts everything into every pitch. Much like Santana, even more so, I think. He's got a much more violent motion. But the numbers as a starter are just staggering. He's just been awesome.
Of course, he's pitched in the big leagues as a relief pitcher 2 years ago. Here's ball 4, and Ike draws his second walk of the night. So the tying run aboard with 1 out. 2 walks now for Lyles, both going to Davis. Now Justin Turner, who had a hit and run single his first time up. Same situation here, batting with Davis aboard.
Mets, of course, wearing their blue tops, which I like. A nice blue color. Los Mets, merengue night.
Second time they've worn the Los Mets jerseys this year. Next year, the Mets are going to have these blue jerseys or something like it as their regular alternate jersey. I'm hearing that the lettering on the alternate jersey may be more orange than white. But in any event, there's going to be a blue jersey used with some more regularity next year. I think it's a nice look. And Turner is hit by the pitch. Something that happened with regularity last year when Turner was playing regularly. He was a magnet for getting hit.
Hurts. So right above the elbow.
Only the second time Justin's been hit this year. He was hit 10 times last year. Of course, a lot more playing time. And for Lyles, the 5th batter he's hit this season. So Lyles trying to shake it off. Gave up the home run to Wright, a walk to Davis. Now he's hit Turner. And the Mets have 2 aboard with Jordani Valdespin coming up. Well, before David Wright's home run, the last home run the Mets hit was Ike Davis's in support of John Neese in his last start in Washington last Saturday. Mets went 184 at bats without a home run before David hit that one. Well, they're still negotiating. Not sure who's on the other end of the phone.
He's not giving that ball up.
Not without some recompense.
He's calling his agent.
It's a free enterprise system. Dad's trying to help out in the negotiation. You know what he wants more than anything else, right? He wants to meet David.
Yes. That should get it done. Unless, of course, he's a real capitalist.
Could be a little of both. A little sentiment. A little mercenary spirit.
There you go. Still got the ball.
Oh, he's not giving it up easily.
Take a picture. They're doing everything they can. And all of a sudden, this young Jordan Lyles is struggling.
He can't throw his curveball anywhere near the plate now. Do you ever have to negotiate to get back a ball that meant something to you?
Not in St. Louis, no.
Because the fans just gave it up to you?
I'm trying to think. I remember Bob Bowman was the old trainer for the St. Louis Cardinals, much the same as Tom McKenna was for the Mets. And he was the trainer for the Cardinals back in the Musial era in the 40s. And he did a great job at inscribing your balls that were important hits. I had my 1000th hit, and Valdespin chases a bad fastball right there.
Third strikeout for Lyles, and it comes in a big spot.
I've got my 1000th hit. I've got my 2000th hit, my 1500th hit. I have my 1000 RBI ball, my first base hit in the big leagues, and Doc Bowman did it with Indian ink. Very meticulous.
But the base hits are easy to retrieve. It's the home run balls that you have trouble with.
Well, Vern Hoscheit, who was our bullpen coach, and remember the old Shea, the bullpen was out there in right center field. Every time he hit a home run at the bullpen, he would always mark it, who I hit it off of. He'd do it for everybody and bring it back in and give you the
Shea
ball.
was easy because you didn't have very many seats in the outfield,
right?
So you didn't have fans getting their hands on balls. Different in St. Louis, though. Those home run balls would go in the stands.
It's a big stadium too. Yeah, they really hit it to get it out of there.
Andres Torres takes up and in, a ball and a strike. Torres grounded into a double play his first time up.
Well, come to think of it, I don't have my 100th home run. It wasn't that important to me. I don't even know who I hit my 100th home run off of.
Dick Ruthven.
I did. I own Dick. Dick Ruthven was all everything at Fresno State when he was in college. And he played against my brother, was at Cal.
Now you did that. You hit it off Ruthven at Wrigley Field. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was before the time that the bleacher bums started throwing back all the home run balls.
It was before the time.
So, now if you hit a key home run at Wrigley Field, you're going to get it back.
An interesting sidebar on Dick Ruthven is that he has something very much in common with Tommy Hutton, who Philly.
Torres lofts one to left. Easy for Francisco, and that retires the side. So the Mets settle for just the 1 run. We'll hear more about Dick Ruthven in a minute. David Wright with an historic home run, taking one the other way. Subject to review, upheld. Home run number 200, 2-1 Houston. with wide receivers coach Sanjay Lal mic'd up, plus an inside look at the season to come on Jets Nation Inside Camp presented by Melrose Credit Union. New episode tomorrow at 7 on SNY. You better get better in a hurry, don't you think?
Yes.
Got a game Sunday night. Maybe they'll actually score an offensive touchdown.
Opening day, when 2 weeks?
Coming up. Jordan Lyles had an RBI double that right now is the difference in this game. His first career extra base hit. That came in the second. John Neese falls behind him 2-0. John's allowed 2 runs and 4 hits. And Lyles takes a strike. So you were talking about Dick Ruthven.
Dick Ruthven married the sister. There's a fly ball. Pop short right field.
And
oh boy.
Avoiding the collision. Turner snags it on what probably should have belonged to Baxter.
So Ruthven wound up marrying the sister of Tommy Hutton, who was the voice of the Miami Marlins
and owner of Tom Seaver.
They played together in they played together in Philadelphia. He married the sister of Tommy Hutton's wife, and they're identical twins. It'd be very confusing.
Well, I hope not. It's Jose Altuve, and he grounds one to shortstop, and Tejada makes the play for the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Kevin.
So Tony DeFrancesco having a fun weekend. He hopes back here for the Astros in the place where he grew up. Suffer in high school, as a matter of fact. 40 people on hand tonight. Should be about 120, he said, for the weekend, coming back to root him on, including his parents. And I asked him about the phone call when he got the news, and he was only in the major leagues for 1 season, the third base coach with the A's back in 08. But this is a guy that managed or coached for 17 years in the minor leagues, that played nearly 600 games as a minor leaguer. So obviously the taste to get back is great. He said, the one thing is, I was here for 08, but you never know if you're going to get another shot. So he certainly is trying to enjoy it. And he said, for me, I'm looking in the player's angle like this is a clean slate. Come up here, I'm trying to wipe the slate clean and really just see what some of the guys can do so we can hopefully evaluate them for next year. But obviously they're evaluating Tony as well, guys.
Tony played his college ball at Seton Hall, and his college coach Mike Shepard is going to come out to the ball game tomorrow and meet up with Tony. Shep was a great coach at Seton Hall, and his son Rob now runs that program. Ruben Tejada with a nice play to throw out Marwin Gonzalez. A 1-2-3 inning for John Neese. We're halfway through at Citi Field. Tejada makes the tough play look easy. 2-1 Houston going to the bottom of the 5th. Afternoon game against the Astros with the Mr. Met Dash for all kids 12 and under, presented by Nintendo World Store. For tickets, call Mets.com or visit Mets.com. You'd want to call 718-507-TIXX. You know the drill. Mets come up in the bottom of the fifth, down by a run. Josh Thole leads off against Jordan Lyles. Thole grounded weakly to second his first time up, and he takes a strike. Thole, Nice, and Tejada for the Mets in the fifth against Lyles, who's trying to snap a 9-start, 6-decision losing streak. And incidentally, trying to get Tony DeFrancesco his first win as the interim skipper. You know, David Wright's home run and the negotiations that followed allowed us to talk about something we very rarely talk about, Keith, and that is your home run history. You know, yes. We talk about a lot of different parts of your game. We talk about fielding. We talk about clutch hits. We never talk about home runs, of which you hit 162 in your career.
I could have hit 200 if I hadn't played all those years. I mean, Busch Stadium was huge, as you know. Was the second biggest park next to the Dome. So it was no margin for error, and you know, Shea was no easy mark either.
Well, let me ask you a trivia question. Okay. Do you know for which team you hit more home runs, the Cardinals or the Mets?
I would say I played a little more, a little longer. I would say the Mets.
You hit 80 for the Mets, 81 for the Cardinals, and one for the Indians.
And guess who I have to one for the Indians off of?
That was against Todd Stottlemyre.
You got it.
Swing and a miss, and Thole is out on strikes. So Josh's woes continue. Fourth strikeout for Lyles. You remember who you hit the first one off?
My first home run was in Dodger Stadium against Doug Rau, up and in fastball. I thought he threw it by me. I don't know how I hit it, and I hit it right center field around 15 rows into the bleachers.
Okay. I have one more trivia question for you. Do you know against whom you hit the most home runs? Nice hits one slowly to shortstop, and Tyler Green comes in on it.
No, tell me.
You hit 6 home runs against this guy. You didn't have more than 4 against anybody else. You had 4 against Bert Hooten. But you had 6 against Mike Scott.
That's right.
Probably before he developed, you know,
the splitter.
Well, whatever you want to call it. Splitter, the cut ball, whatever it was.
I hit 2 upper tank jobs in Busch Stadium, old Busch Stadium, off the, not in the seats. I hit him off the facing.
Is that when he was a Met?
As a Met. Him and Jesse Orosco.
Really?
Yes.
Same series, same game?
I don't know. Different. And one was a pinch hit. I don't know which one it was off of. And Jesse was 3-1 count. He came with a fastball, and I thought he threw it by me. And those are my 2 longest shots of my career.
Really, against a lefty?
Mm-hmm.
Ball strike to Tejada.
That's when Jesse was young, and he was throwing gas, and he was just learning how to pitch. He had all the stuff. He was raw back in those days.
Tejada's been up twice, grounded out both times. And he grounds another one. Boy, Lyles getting ground ball after ground ball. This one's handled by Green. And so the Mets are on 1-2-3 after 5. Still 2-1 Houston. On SNY is brought to you by Brooklyn Burger, the premium steakhouse burger and the official burger of the New York Mets. Be sure to visit Keith's Grill at Citi Field, located on the field level behind section 132 and the promenade level behind home plate, to enjoy Keith's favorite Brooklyn burgers. Love that shot of you eating that burger dripping all over the place.
It was so successful the first year that they opened up a second stand. And they're on 2 levels down the left field line.
Brad Wallace hits it to left. On comes Valdespin. Judged that one nicely. 1 away. Let's look at today's Verizon text poll. Well, you've got the Mets and Astros struggling here. So with a rebuilding team, would you prefer what the Astros have done, which is gutting the team with of all the high profile players and stockpiling prospects, or doing what the Mets are kind of doing, keeping some high profile players and changing the roster gradually? SNY.TV or text us at what was the number again? 56812. Did I get that right?
I think you did.
56812.
Don't quote me.
It went away too fast. I didn't have it memorized.
It'll be interesting to see what the fans say about that.
It is interesting, and there was a very interesting story in the Houston paper today about the Astros GM. His name is Jeff Luhnow. He took over this year, and he came from St. Louis, where he was a lieutenant of John Mozeliak. And they were interviewing Mozeliak about the job that Luhnow has done here in Houston so far. And one of the things that Luhnow said is that Mozeliak said about Luhnow is you have to know what market you're in. In other words, you might not be able to do the same thing in Houston or in St. Louis that you do in Houston, or you might not be able to do the same thing in New York that you do in Houston. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think a lot of people hold that sentiment that it's harder to get rid of all your high profile players if you're in a bigger market. Swing and a miss, and Francisco out on strikes. Strikeout number 4 for John Neese.
Well, I think right now Houston's really got to just the matter of dollars and cents. They had to cut back payroll, and their team that's more apt to start from scratch, where there's obviously there's a lot more pressure in here, for instance. I'm very curious to see how that poll turns out.
Fly ball deep to center off the bat of Steve Pearce, but Torres has it lined up and grabs it on the warning track to end the inning. Another fast inning for John Neese. Now the Mets need to get him a run, down 2-1 in the 6th. Too bad nobody's in the city.
August.
Did you
they're all out.
You experienced the traffic heading out today?
There was enormous traffic going out in my direction. I was coming in the other way. Caught a little bit of it before the almost at exit 39 for some reason, between exit 39 and 37.
Mineola, that neighborhood?
That's where the northern kind of comes back in. You can merges back in. You have the option on the northern. If you're on the northern, to get back on the LIE, and they come in around, they merge in, and it just 39 to 37 is my bane. I cringe when I get close.
Well, you should have seen the backup on the Whitestone Bridge, heading down so people could head out.
Did you? So you get it? Well, you're with the traffic? You're
no,
going.
I'm going the same way as the traffic. I have to execute the shortcuts. Of course, my Baxter knows all about the Whitestone Bridge. He used to live right near it. That's where he grew up.
Really a lot of nice neighborhoods over around Whitestone.
Some beautiful houses in Whitestone.
Yeah.
Down by the water. Baxter's 0 for 2 today. And it's taken high, a ball and a strike. Anyway, if you are just reaching your destination in the Hamptons or wherever and you've just tuned in, thanks for joining us. The Astros got 2 runs off John Neese in the second. He's been very good since then. Mets got a home run from David Wright, the 200th of his career in the 4th. And Jordan Lyles has been getting more than his share of ground balls tonight, holding the Mets to just 2 hits over the first 5. 2-2 now to Baxter with Wright and Davis to follow. Mets trying to snap this offensive doldrum that has seen them manage 2 runs or less for 6 straight games now.
We got 2 losing streaks coming into this game.
Baxter gets jammed and fouls it off.
Astros have lost 7 in a row. The Mets have lost 5 in a row.
Well, to take it a little deeper, the Mets have won just 11 of their last 40 games. The Astros have won just 6 of their last 40 games. In the last 30 years, this is only the second time that 2 teams that have won 11 games or less in their last 40 will go head to head.
So that goes back to 1980.
Fly ball into shallow center field, and Brandon Barnes waits for it. 1 away. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by with this game break. Nats start the night with a 6.5 game lead over the Braves, who are in San Francisco again tonight after Barry Zito held them in check for 8 innings last night.
I think Philadelphia is going to be the big spoiler this September.
Here's Wright to hit his 17th of the year and the 200th of his career his last time up.
Fastball up and away, and David going that way right into the corner. What was that corner? Well, can't get any better than that. Like a pinball there. Umpires had to go in to make sure.
Lyles throwing at 96. That's the hardest pitch he's thrown all night. Now you see your Time Warner Cable Mets home run leaders. Right second to Davis on the ball club. And it's grounded foul, and you saw in 4th place on that list a guy who's been in the minor leagues for a month. Lucas Duda will be back in September. Probably playing left field at that point.
And hopefully every day.
Well, there's the young man who caught the baseball. He's still texting. Dad's having a snack. I think he's saying, "My friend says we were on TV." Wright bangs one off his leg. I wonder how the negotiations are going. "21-year-old Jordan Lyles looking for just his 3rd win against 10 losses. He's been good tonight. And the slider, Wright held the swing in time. Chad Fairchild with the call. It's 2-2. And the curveball bounced foul. It's interesting that Lyles has made his mark at such a young age, considering the fact that when he was in high school in South Carolina, he was much more a football player than a baseball player. Lyles committed to the University of South Carolina as a wide receiver, but then the Astros drafted him in the first round and he signed the next day.
I think he made a wise choice. He would have been playing for Steve Spurrier. Steve Spurrier's Gamecocks. They are in the top, I believe, top 10.
You can catch a lot of passes playing in Spurrier's
offense.
offense.
Yes, you can.
He's 6'4", 208. Good size for a wide receiver.
Probably can.
Don't know what the speed factor was.
I bet you can fly.
Now the 2-2, and Wright drives another one to right field. Over goes Pierce toward the corner, and this one's off the fence. Wright's going to have to hustle. Pierce has a good arm, and the one-hop throw gets him at second base. Boy, Pierce making a tremendous throw from the right field corner. He's always had the reputation of having a good arm, and he threw a one-hop strike to get Wright stretching for a double.
Well, let me tell you something. That is just a great play right there, a great throw, and I think he barehanded it off the wall. David swings, same pitch at the home run on, a little more in. No, he didn't barehand it. He just played it beautifully off the wall, and that is just dead to rights. No pun intended. That'll make your pitcher happy. Nice play off the wall, nice throw.
Only the Mets' third hit of the night. Wright has 2 of the 3. Mike Davis has been aboard twice, both times on walks, and Lyles' curveball blows up for ball 1.
That's a big hop off the wall. Quick one hop. He played it beautifully. I mean, that's a perfect throw.
I remember a game the Mets played against the Pirates where Pierce unleashed a throw like that to get a big out. Hooked right at the second baseman, and Altuve has it to end the inning. So helped out by the fine play by Pierce in right field. Lyles now through 6 with a 2-1 lead. Yes, whether you preferred gutting the team or keeping some high-profile players and changing gradually, and most of you like the latter, which I guess means that Met fans want the Mets to re-sign David Wright.
I think that's it, and
that's the answer to that question.
Gary, you and I had a conversation before the game, and I can tell you, I woke up at 3:30 in the morning. I don't like taking the game home with me.
Fly ball by Tyler Green, deep left field, and that ball's out of here. Tyler Green with a bomb. Hits it off the facing of the second deck. His 7th home run, his 3rd as an Astro. So the former first-round pick of the Cardinals hitting one a long way against Nice to make it 3-1 Houston. Well, the Astros picked up Green a couple of weeks ago. He had played for the current Houston GM Jeff Luhnow in St. Louis, and he shows off why he was a first-round pick.
3 fastballs have hurt Nice in this game. That is the 18th home run given up to right-handers this year by Jonathan of his 20.
And a call strike to Chris Snyder.
So getting back to the point that I was so rudely uninterrupted by that home run there.
And another shot, this one into left field, the base hit for Snyder. And Valdespin can't cut it off, so Snyder's going to head for second. And he is in standing with a double. So Snyder's been on base 3 straight times. His 7th double, a ball that Valdespin probably should have been able to cut off.
Let's see if it's a fastball. Surely is. And ripped up and out over the plate. And that ball's hit so hard it fooled Valdespin. And doesn't run well, the catcher.
Well, the bottom part of this Houston batting order has been the nemesis for Nice tonight. Brandon Barnes drove in the first Houston run with a double back in the second. He drops down a bunt. Told he's going to play it. And he gets Barnes, so the sacrifice successful. 2-3, moving Snyder to third.
That's going to bring up a pinch hitter.
So they'll remove Jordan Lyles, who now has a lead and a chance for a victory. And they'll bring up the former Met Fernando Martinez as a pinch hitter.
Really? A left-hand hitter. Interesting.
Well, they only have one right-handed bat on the bench, and that is Justin Maxwell, who's hurt right now, has a bad finger. So Tony DeFrancisco really doesn't have a choice.
Well, getting down to get the low pitch and knows to bat out in front and the bat level. And no stabbing. It's not fencing.
Not saber or epee. So here's Fernando, claimed on waivers by the Astros. Spent most of this year in the minor leagues. And it's hit just 159 since joining Houston. The Mets bring the infield in, and Martinez fouls it off.
When he first came up, he had such a pretty swing, and then for some reason, I know he had injuries, but he widened his stance and he just locked his hips up and lost all that rotation. He really, when he came up, had a swing like the left fielder for just left town, Carlos Gonzalez.
Wesley Wright is up in the bullpen for the Astros. Wright, the left-hander. It's very confusing. 1-1 to Fernando, and Nice beats him with a cutter, and it's 1-2.
Yeah, backed up inside. Wants it away. Watch it just kind of spin and stay inside. Oh boy, it had a lot of play. That was a pitch to rip.
So John needing a strikeout, now ahead on Martinez, 1-2. And throws the curveball down. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Snyder very slow at third base, so he's not going to try and score on any kind of short wild pitch. Manny Acosta, Robert Carson up in the Mets bullpen. Under the watchful eye of Ricky Bonas, the bullpen coach. He's up to 93 pitches on the night. And Martinez stays alive, fouling off that cutter. Hernandez had only 45 at bats with the Astros. This year in Oklahoma City, 13 home runs, a .314 batting average, and mostly has stayed healthy, which has been the biggest problem he's had in his career. In all of his seasons in the Mets farm system, he never played more than 90 games in any season, which is incredible. I mean, we're talking about 6 years. He was never able to play more than 90 minor league games. 7th pitch of the at bat. And Martinez is down on strikes. Another cutter from Nice. Strikeout number 5 for John. Now there are 2 out of the inning.
Big out for John to keep it, trying to keep it a 1-run game, a 2-run game, excuse me. And went fishing for a bad one. Look at the big stride and just how the hips lock up. He lost that rotation.
So 2 out, runner at third. Now Jose Altuve, and he takes a strike on the inside edge. Altuve has been up 3 times, grounded out each time. He does not look at a lot of pitches, Altuve. He is up there hacking. Snyder at third and 2 out. 3-1 Houston in the 7th. And Altuve fouls it off 0-2. Marwin Gonzalez would be next. He's trying to put this inning to bed. He's already given up a run in the inning on a leadoff home run by Tyler Green. Now the 0-2 and the curveball low and away. Our next SNY broadcast will be Tuesday night from Philadelphia when the Mets begin their road trip against the Phillies. 6:30 the coverage Tuesday night. Mets and Phils.
And they've got their 2 big guns back in the lineup, Chase Utley and Ryan Howard. Got Roy Halladay back, and they're going to make a statement. They're going to make things difficult for the leaderboard here in September.
And yesterday they passed the Mets in the standings, moved into 3rd place in the East.
They're beating Washington tonight 3-0 in the 5th.
And depending on what the Marlins do tonight, the Mets tonight could fall into last place for the first time this season. 2-2 to Altuve, and the curveball misses. So Nice, after getting ahead 0-2, goes to a full count on the Astros leadoff hitter. Marlins are playing in LA tonight. You see the score in Philadelphia. So Nice over 100 pitches. He's walked only 1. He's struck out 5. Now the 3-2 and the curveball outside for ball 4. So he pitches carefully to Altuve, his 2nd walk of the night. Nice is working on a string of 14 straight starts in which he's gone at least 6 innings and walked no more than 2. Well, he's gone 6 2/3 tonight. Now he's walked 2 in this game. And now he'll take on Marwin Gonzalez with 1st and 3rd and 2 out. There are your city probables for the weekend. R.A. Dickey goes for his 16th win tomorrow. Fernando Abad comes up from the minors to take the start for the Astros, lefty that we've seen in relief before. Jeremy Hefner, back from paternity leave, pitches on Sunday afternoon against Lucas Harrell, who's had a pretty nice year for Houston. Harrell with a winning record for a team that's 47 games under 500. That's quite a feat in and of itself. It's not quite Steve Carlton with the 72 Phillies, but it's not bad.
Well, that's the benchmark, is it not?
Well, the Phillies that year won 59 and lost 103, and Carlton won 27 of the 59.
And the interesting story with that was that Steve Carlton had won, I believe, 20 the year before with St. Louis. He wanted $100,000, and he held out. And old man Bush, Gussie, got mad, told him to trade him, traded for Rick Wise, who was making $100,000.
So Go figure. It was what you'd call a fit of pique.
Yes.
On the part of the owner. Brett Wallace would be next. Gonzalez 0 for 3 tonight. Well, even the 62 Mets, who won 40 and lost 120, had a pitcher with a winning record.
A reliever?
He mostly relieved. Ken McKenzie,
right,
would later be the head baseball coach at Yale.
How many guys lost 20 that year? Craig,
Al Jackson. Jack Fisher was later. But you know, when a team loses 120, somebody's got to absorb all those losses.
What year did Warren Spahn pitch for the Mets?
65.
That's right. And then he got traded to the Giants right in the middle of the year.
Right. Warren Spahn, only the winningest lefty of all time.
And he got a late start too. He wasn't up to the big leagues for a long while. I think
27, I think.
He had service.
And he won 363 games.
Also a great hitting pitcher. Beautiful motion. If you remember, right over the top through the screwball. Turnover changeup.
By the way, Altuve not being asked to cut that bracelet off his wrist.
Or Nice, the necklace. A lot of throws over.
Altuve, who stands all of 5'6". Shortest man in the big leagues since Freddie Patek. 2-2. And it's grounded foul, and Nice really having trouble ending this inning. He got ahead of Altuve 0-2, wound up walking him. Gonzalez is working him hard. And so John throwing a few more pitches than he had planned here in the 7th. Have to figure if Gonzalez gets aboard, they'll probably bring in Carson to pitch to Wallace. Now the 2-2 coming, and Gonzalez hits it sharply.
Diving backhand by Tejada, and he recovers in time to get the force. Another splendid play by Ruben Tejada to get Nice through the inning. But the Astros tack on a run. Tyler Green with his 7th home run of the year, and it was a bomb off the facing of the second deck. 3-1.
Been worse but for this play by Ruben Tejada.
Well, nice backhand. And then he has to rush here. It's a close play. Beautifully done.
But again, no panic. He seemed to know exactly how much time he had.
We've become used to that, haven't we? He knows exactly what he's doing.
Veteran left-hander Wesley Wright comes on to pitch in the bottom of the 7th.
Well, Wright is having a pretty good year, I'll tell you that. You see the numbers right there. He's 4th in the National League in appearances with 60. And the left-handers have a very hard time with him.
Let's have a right-hand hitter, Justin Turner, to lead off the 7th. And Scott Hairston has come out on deck to bat for Jordani Valdespin. So the Mets will have 3 straight right-handed bats against Wesley Wright. John Nice going 7 innings for the 11th time in his last 14 starts. He has been an innings eater lately, but on the short end tonight.
So far. Mets have 3 more cracks at this Astros pitching staff.
2-1 to Turner. Well, their bullpen, like every other part of their team, has turned over. They had Brett Myers and Brandon Lyon earlier in the year. Wilton Lopez is their closer now, and he's pretty good. But there's not a whole lot of depth in that Houston bullpen. Two and one to Turner, who's been on base twice with a single and been hit by a pitch. And he flies one foul, 2-2. You know, the Astros, with all the trades they've made, now have the youngest roster in the major leagues. Their major league roster averages 26.4 years, youngest in the majors. That could change radically, though, soon. Because tomorrow night the Astros are going to be scouting Roger Clemens when he pitches for the Sugarland Skeeters in the Atlantic League. And if all goes well in that start, rumor has it that the Astros intend to bring Roger in to pitch in September at age 50 to sell tickets, which they are unabashed in saying. I mean, you know, with all the problems they've had the last couple of years, nobody's showing up in Minute Maid Park, but they figure if they bring in Roger to make a start at 2 in September, they can fill the building or something close to it.
I don't think they'd fill the building, but it would get more people in there, that's for sure.
Grounded down to third base, and moving in on it is Gonzalez. Here's the interesting part about that from Clemens' perspective. Not only would it give him an opportunity to pitch in another major league game and all that, but it would reset his clock as far as the Hall of Fame is concerned. Remember, you have to wait 5 years to be eligible for the Hall of Fame, and Roger would be eligible this year. If he pitches this year, though, he'd have to wait another 5 years, and maybe he's thinking attitudes might change about people who are connected with steroids, and he might have a better chance of getting in.
How many pitchers have pitched into their 5th decade?
Well, Satchel Paige was 60-something the last time he pitched for Kansas City.
So how many guys have pitched into their 50s?
I think Charlie Huff, Hoyt Wilhelm, they pitched late 40s, but I don't think they ever pitched to 50. Here's Jordani Valdespie, or Scott Hairston batting for Jordani Valdespie. And Hairston takes a strike. So it's, you know, it's interesting from a curiosity standpoint as much as anything, but I think the Hall of Fame thing gives it another twist, that maybe it's part of Roger's calculation to get back in a big league game to reset the clock.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Because, you know, all those guys are coming up for the Hall of Fame. Bonds and Sosa and Clemens, all at the same time, to join McGuire, and who has got very little support for his Hall of Fame candidacy from the baseball writers who vote. Back to Wright, and he makes the play on Hairston, 2 out. Tonight's Twisted but True Fact is brought to you by Twisted Tea, hard iced tea. The Astros 7-43 their last 50 games. Even the 62 Mets never had a 50-game stretch that bad.
Wow.
9-41 was their worst. In fact, we gave the stat earlier. Only the Philadelphia A's 3 different times under Connie Mack in the early part of the 20th century had stretches this bad over a 50-game period. To find a National League team that had a 50-game stretch this bad, you have to go back to the infamous Cleveland Spiders from before 1900, who I think won 20-something games one year. Torres rips one into left field, and Andres has a base hit. Played back in quickly by Francisco, and so Torres has the Mets' 4th hit of the night, a 2-out single.
Fastball out over the plate, mid thigh. Good pitch to hit right down the pipe, really.
Our crack statistician Dave Freed tells me only Satchel Paige and Jack Quinn pitched at age 50 or above. Quinn, 1933, he was the guy who Jamie Moyer broke the record of as the oldest pitcher ever to win. where it was 49 this year when he pitched and won.
Who did Jack Quinn play for? Do you know?
He was with Philadelphia, right?
So Wilhelm went to 49, Phil Niekro to 48, Nolan Ryan 46, Jesse Orozco 46.
Josh Tolle hits one toward the gap in left center. Chasing it is Barnes, and he runs it down. So Brandon Barnes getting over in the gap. Tolle retired, and so are the Mets in the bottom of the 7th. On to the 8th we go. Barnes making that look easy. 3-1 Houston. Dinner with us and catch the game in the SNY Suite at Citi Field on September 12th. All proceeds will benefit the high school basketball teams playing in the 2013 SNY Invitational. Bid today at sny.tv/charity auction. You know that SNY Suite's a nice place. Good place to watch a game from.
So I heard.
Scott Hairston stays in the game in left field. Robert Carson comes on in relief in the 8th inning.
Well, this will be his 5th timeout. Last series against Colorado got 1 out late in the ball game. Recalled on the 21st.
Brett Wallace leads off for the Astros in the 8th. Wallace has hit the ball hard his last, well, actually all night. He had an infield hit off the pitcher's leg and a couple of line drive outs. And he takes ball 1 from Carson. John Neese went 7, allowed 3 runs, 6 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, a home run, 108 pitches for Neese, and he's on the short end of a 3-1 score. And so it has gone for the Mets. They continue to get good starting pitching and no offense. And other than David Wright's home run tonight, it has been another night of no offense for the Mets. We were talking earlier about the Astros and the fact that they have lost 43 of their last 50 and that no national team had done that since before 1900. The Cleveland Spiders in 1899, their last year, won 20 games and lost 134.
That's a rough.
That's the worst record of all time in Major League Baseball.
I couldn't imagine.
I'll bet they couldn't either.
I mean, there's some days when you're going bad in both these squads right here. You don't, you hate going to the ballpark. Believe it or not, folks out there. Early in my career, I played for some bad teams, and you just dreaded coming to the park. But you got to come to the park, and you got to play the games.
Wallace pops it a mile high. Davis waiting for it to come down. And Ike squeezes it one away. So 1 out and nobody on. Ben Francisco coming up. Let's check in with Kevin.
Well, this is the first year that Robert Carson is working in relief exclusively. And, you know, he had a conversation in spring training, and Terry's going to take him out here. With Dan Worthen, just on, you know, a guy that obviously had a lot of routine as a starter, Dan Worthen said, hey, why don't you try throwing touch and field bullpens 2-3 times a week just to kind of give yourself a routine. Said he did it. It really worked for him. But in the minor leagues, you kind of know a little bit more when you're going to pitch. Probably wouldn't work so much here, and he's done, Gary.
Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Wireless. Win Mets memorabilia from Verizon at Mets.com/Verizon Sweeps. Frank Francisco coming in. 3-1 Houston. By your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Well, it's been a very rough stretch for Frank Francisco, and so Terry Collins brings him into an unusual situation in the 8th inning.
Well, he's permitted 8 earned runs in the last 4 innings, 6 games, so it's been a little rough. He lost his temper the other day, and after he got touched up.
Pinch hitter for the Astros, Brian Bogusevic, batting for Ben Francisco to get them a left-handed bat against Francisco. Bogusevic hitting at .210 for the year and chases a high fastball. So we referenced the 1899 Cleveland Spiders. Their last 50 games that year, they went 4-46. So take heart, Houston. I like this note about the Cleveland Spiders of 1899. Their manager at the beginning of the year, Lave Cross, got off to a bad start, 8-30, so they fired him. Brought in Joe Quinn as the manager for the rest of the year. He went 12-104.
Oh my gosh.
So I guess it wasn't the manager's fault after all.
They had no talent.
2-2 now to Bogusevic. Robert Carson for the 2nd straight outing, retiring the only batter to face him. Giving way to Francisco, who throws that splitter in the dirt. A full count to Bogusevic with Steve Pearce on deck.
So Gary, I have a question for you, and that regards the text poll that we had, and the fans 83% overwhelmingly said to keep some key players.
You mean the stuff that kept you up last night?
They kept me up, woke me up at 3:30 in the morning, and I was just mulling over. Good fastball right by Bogusevic.
2 out. All right.
If you're going to keep Wright, And I can see that. There's no guarantee what Davis is going to bring next year. Duda. You need another bat. You need another veteran bat. Not a guy in his prime.
An outfielder who can hit home runs.
Right. And to go with David and take some of the pressure off. And I'm thinking in terms of, well, what do we got to get rid of to bring something like that?
In other words, you're thinking about what you have as trading pieces.
Right. And finally came to my mind and was, would you trade an R.A. Dickey if he wins 20 and on a high note, and go with a starting rotation next year? Hopefully Santana's back. Harvey, Neese, Dylan G should be back from his clot, and possibly a Henry Mejia as your starting 5.
Or if Zach Wheeler's ready, maybe beginning of the season. Colin McHugh certainly put his candidacy forward yesterday.
I mean, pitching's a premium, and I know our Rays got a chance to win 20, and you're thinking in terms of what can bring me the most to improve this ball club. We do need some offense.
It's such an interesting question because of the circumstances surrounding RA. There's ball 4 and Pierce is on. First of all, he's a folk hero, and he might be, next to David Wright, the most popular player the Mets have had in a long time. The other thing is that he signed for next year at a very reasonable price for a guy of his accomplishments. I think he's got a $5 million deal for next year. But on the other hand, he's going to be 38 years old, and he's a knuckleballer, which I think some teams might look askance at. So it's a fascinating question, and I don't know whether it's one that Sandy Alderson has mulled over or even given the first consideration to, but it raises a very interesting scenario, because it would enable, if you were to get a decent haul back, the Mets to retool, go with their younger pitchers, and perhaps have a more competitive season next year than they would have with RA.
Well, just have some growing pains with the youngsters, and hopes that if I can turn it around, then you got 3 guys in the middle. There's a that was.
Well, no advance by Pierce as that ball came back to Tolle. I don't think that Pierce at first knew that it had gone past Tolle, and then he saw the hard carom and figured it was too late.
Goodness, is that a cross up?
Put a hole in Dwayne Reed. Here's explaining to his first base coach, Dan Radisson, why he wasn't on second base. Tyler Green homered his last time up, his 7th of the year. Now Pierce running, and the throw by Tolle, a good one, but a shade too late. So Pierce makes up for not taking second on the wild pitch and steals it instead, his first stolen base of the season. That's how you make amends.
Well, Francisco does not like to throw over, and he steals that easily. So it is an interesting thought.
It is an interesting thought, and I know that it is in Sandy's mind that this team has got to hit more home runs, and certainly they were hoping to get that this year with Duda. That didn't work out, at least not for the moment. Duda's going to get plenty more opportunities. Certainly they were hoping that Jason Bay could have a rebounding year and provide more power. That hasn't happened. You look around in their outfield right now and you just don't know, who's the starting player for next year. So somehow Sandy's going to try to import some more power, presumably in the outfield. And, again, you're raising the question is the first I've heard anybody raise the question.
Well,
but Dickey is certainly a guy who's got intriguing value.
That's what happens when you toss and turn for 3 hours in a king-size bed in a very dark room.
There's a lot of room to move in that king-size bed. A lot of tosses and turns.
I'm telling you, I had a hard time sleeping last night. I've never liked taking the game home. I haven't done that since I was in my early 20s and struggling.
Is there anybody you could call?
I was thinking about dialing 8.
Well, you know, it's 3 hours earlier in California. Maybe your brother would have been up.
3 in the morning and midnight. No, my brother's been 3 hours in bed by then.
Francisco struck out the first man he faced, walked Pierce. Now he's 3-2 on Green with 2 out. And Green takes strike 3 call. Nice fastball by Frankie to get him looking. So 2 strikeouts for Francisco. And the Mets have come up in the bottom of the 8th inning, down 3-1. Pierce moves from right field to left field. Brian Bogusevic stays in right, and now Tony DeFrancesco comes out. He's going to make a pitching change. Ronnie Cedeno was announced as a pinch hitter, so DeFrancesco will take out his lefty Wesley Wright and bring in a right-hander instead. So 3-1 Houston in the 8th. We'll be right back to Citi Field. takes over the pitching for Houston.
Well, it started out with the Angels back in 09. Pitched a little bit. 47 appearances last year for Houston. Hard thrower, strikeout guy. He's pitched better of late. His last 18 appearances, he's been outstanding.
Running to face Ronnie Cedeno as we check in with Kevin. Hello, Kevin.
Guys, it had to feel good for Frank Francisco just to get a couple of outs there. You know, I spoke with him before the game, and you know, Keith, you mentioned it. He got mad at the cooler last time, didn't speak to the media. Uncharacteristic for him this year. He's handled himself well even after the tough outing. And he said, you know, thing that's bothered me is it's not a one-time thing. You know, every other time I'd come out to pitch, I kind of in my mind blamed it on not being 100%. But the last 2 times out, I felt great, and that bothered me. I feel mediocre right now, and I've got to help the team. This is not doing it. So for him tonight, small step forward. Big problem is he doesn't have any save opportunities, so that's been an issue.
Well, the Mets would love to create a save opportunity for somebody in the 9th inning, but right now their offense continues in major brownout mode as Cedeno's retired on the comebacker by Fernando Rodriguez. And Ruben Tejada will take his turn. Ruben's been up 3 times, grounded out to the left side all 3. Josh Edgin, Manny Acosta up in the Mets bullpen now. Jordan Lyles went 6 innings for Houston, allowed a run on 3 hits. Wesley Wright a scoreless inning, and now Rodriguez working the 8th. They don't get many save opportunities for Houston either, but Wilton Lopez is their 9th inning guy right now. Xavier Cedeno, the left-hander, up with Mike Baxter due to bat next. Fly ball left field. Should be easy for Steve Pearce. And Tejada is retired, 2 out. Take a drive around the majors presented by Cadillac. Matt Harrison's had a tremendous year for Texas and working without having a lot of hits. 7-0 Texas lead in the 5th inning. Kyle Kendrick pitching another good game for the Phillies, up 3-0 on the Nats in the 7th. Adam Dunn home run number 37 and 38 as the White Sox looking to open some space between themselves and the Tigers, who are trailing the Angels tonight 2-0 in the 7th. Here's Mike Baxter batting with 2 out and nobody on. Baxter's 0 for 3 tonight.
How about that Cardinal game up in Cincinnati? They've come back. The St. Louis took a 7-5 lead in the 6th. Top of the 6th.
Home runs by Alan Craig and Yadier Molina.
That's a big series up there in Cincinnati.
Well, the Cardinals are moving. The Cardinals are now in wild card position behind the Braves, ahead of the Pirates. Pirates, by the way, were even with the Brewers, but then gave up a 4-run 7th as their bullpen faltered again. Things are not going well for Pittsburgh right now, and I know a lot of people around baseball are rooting for the Pirates to finally break their 20-year schneid of not having a winning season. However, there is help on the way for Pittsburgh because the Pirates today claimed our old friend Isanori Takahashi on waivers from the Angels. So Takahashi is heading to Pittsburgh to try to help with their bullpen. The Dodgers, of course, might have a lot of help coming their way. That is, you don't get blockbuster trades like that in August because everybody has to clear waivers. You're talking about Beckett and Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford. Apparently Crawford has a no trade to the Dodgers, so you'd have to approve it, which is one of the holdups on the deal. But it's a 9-player trade in August, and that just doesn't happen very often.
It's a lot of money and salary, boy, I tell you.
Well, from a Boston perspective, you shed a lot of salary. They get back a couple of prospects. Ruby De La Rosa, who just came off the disabled list. Alan Webster. James Loney, who's been a disappointment in L.A., would go presumably to take Gonzalez's place at first base. And the call strike to Baxter. Again, it's not done, but apparently agreed to, pending everybody who needs to approve it giving their go-ahead. Dodger payroll was going to be enormous. And if not this year, then next year for sure. Off the plate 3-1, already acquiring Hanley Ramirez and Shane Victorino, who's a free agent at the end of the year.
Well, David Wright in the on-deck circle. It's a good pitch to hit. I don't want Baxter taking 3-1. Let him rip it.
And that's ball 4. So Baxter's on with a walk, and that'll get Wright to the plate as the tying run. Well, the last time David came to bat, Steve Pearce kept him from a 2-base hit. Your Home Depot doing more on defense.
Well, played it really nice off the wall, and a strong one hop right to the bag. Perfect.
Here's now in left field for Wright's 4th at bat. And we're going to get a pitching change. Tony DeFrancesco coming to the home plate umpire Brian O'Nora. And it looks like he's contemplating a double switch here. And he's going to go to his closer, Wilton Lopez. The Astros don't get too many chances to close games. So he's going to ask Lopez to get him a 4-out save. Back to Citi Field in just a moment. Third base, he'll bat 9th. Marwin Gonzalez moves from third base to shortstop, and the new pitcher Wilton Lopez will hit in the 6th hole.
Well, Lopez has got good stuff, good cutter. He's pitched well against the Mets in the past. Last 11 appearances, an ERA below 1.
But brought in to face David Wright, who has good numbers against him. David's 3 for 6 against Wilton Lopez. Tying run at the plate, and David takes inside for ball 1. Wright homered to the base of the foul pole in right field for his 200th career home run of the 4th. Then hit one in the same general neighborhood off the wall for a base hit in the 6th, only to be thrown out at second on a good play by Pearce. Baxter at first and 2 down, and Wright takes low and inside, 2-0. Mike Davis would be next. David with 200 home runs now in his career, 100 at home and 100 on the road. When the year began, Brett Myers was saving games for the Astros, but he's long gone to the White Sox. And so now the 29-year-old Lopez inheriting the closer's duties. His 3rd full season with the Astros, and he's their best reliever of what's left. And he comes inside and falls beyond on Wright, 3-1.
Lopez just likes to pour that little sinker inside. 3-1 count. You can pick a half of the plate and try to drive one. Tie it up. Middle end.
Here's the 3-1. And Wright grounds one toward the hole. Gonzalez with a quick flip to get the force play. And that ends the inning. Gonzalez playing over that way in the right place to field that grounder, sending us to the ninth at 3-1. Why is brought to you by Time Warner Cable. Enjoy all the things you love better. TV, internet, and home phone from Time Warner Cable. By Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. And by New York Community Bank. We go to the ninth inning at Citi Field. Mets in danger of their sixth straight loss. The Astros trying to snap a 7-game losing streak of their own. Manny Acosta will pitch the top of the ninth for New York.
Well, Acosta's been up and down. He really struggled earlier in the year, got sent down, has been called back up. It's just those numbers are hard to overcome. He had such a terrible start.
Chris Snyder's had a good day at the plate. A walk, a single, a double. He's 2 for 2. The lower third of the order did a lot of damage against John Neese today. Neese went 7 innings, allowed 3 runs and 6 hits. He handled the top 5 guys in the batting order just fine, but 6 through 9, that was a problem. Tyler Green hit a home run. Snyder a single and a double. Brandon Barnes, the 8-hitter, an RBI double. Even the pitcher Jordan Lyles kicked in with a run-scoring double. And Acosta gets ahead 0-2 on Snyder with Barnes on deck. Robert Carson and Frank Francisco combined for a hitless 8th inning, and now Acosta working the 9th. With Ike Davis, Justin Turner, and Scott Hairston due to bat in the bottom of the 9th. Well, Matt Harrison has a no-hitter now through 6 against the Minnesota Twins. Adrian Beltre has another home run in that game. That's 5 in the last 3 games. Little tapper toward third. Wright makes the bare hand play and gets the slow-footed Snyder with ease. 1 away. Let's check in with the studio, see what's coming up on WB Mason post-game live. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda, guys. Did I hear Bobby O channeling Hawk Harrelson?
You did.
Put it on the board? Yes, I think I did. Brandon Barnes the batter, and he takes the breaking ball for a strike from Acosta. Barnes an RBI double and a sacrifice. He's 1 for 2 tonight. Barnes, who hit .321 at Oklahoma City with 12 home runs before being called up, takes it off the plate. Now David Wright makes this play as well as anybody in the game.
Well, remember when he first came up, folks, and he had difficulty and all that hard work he put in with Sandy Alomar Sr. particularly, that was the coach then, and boy, he is one of the very best at that bare hand today.
He might be as good as the Mets have ever had making that play. The guy who I remember doing it better than anybody before David is now the manager on the south side of Chicago. Robin Ventura was great at that bare hand play.
Robin was a very underrated player.
Two and two now to Brandon Barnes. By the way, Robin's White Sox are up 7-2 on Seattle in the 6th inning. Now Acosta's 2-2, and Barnes fouls off the fastball. We've got quite a wild card race going in the American League right now. At the same time, the Rays are trying to move up on the Yankees, only 2.5 behind starting the night. The Rays have the first wild card spot, and then you've got Baltimore, Detroit, and Oakland all tied going into tonight for the second wild card spot. And Tampa Bay is playing Oakland tonight.
We got the Angels going in tonight, 5 out.
Strike 3 call. Barnes out on strikes. First for Acosta, 2 out of the inning.
Good slider right here. Perfect spot. Nice sink. And he knew it. Ed caught the knees.
So now Scott Moore will bat for the first time. Terry Collins will make a pitching change, bringing the lefty to face the left-hand hitter Moore. Edgin coming in, 3-1 Houston. We'll be right back.
Well, his last 4 times out, Edgin's gone 2 2/3, giving up 1 run unearned.
Scott Moore up for the first time. Moore, a long ago first-round draft pick by the Tigers, who has never really panned out. Cubs, Orioles, and now getting a chance with the Astros. A third baseman, takes high for ball 1. In the draft when The Tigers took him 8th overall. He was picked right after Zach Greinke and Prince Fielder, right before Jeff Francis. B.J. Upton went 2nd in that draft. Mets took Scott Kazmir at number 15. And Scott Morris still trying to establish himself 10 years later. And a fly ball hit out to left center. And Hairston makes the call and the catch, and that retires the side. Mets will come up in the bottom of the 9th, trying to avoid a 6th straight loss, down 3-1. The post-game show, J.R.'s Familia making the start tonight for Buffalo. We'll have highlights from around baseball, and the Giants host the Bears in their 3rd preseason game. Geico Sports Night tonight after the post-game, only on SNY. Tony DeFrancesco looking for his first win as a big league manager. The Astros' only winning record is against the Mets, and the Astros are the only team the Mets have played this year that they have not beaten. They got swept that 3-game series in Houston early in the year. Ike Davis leading off in the bottom of the 9th, trying to get the Mets started. They've had just a run and 4 hits tonight, on the verge of a 7th straight game scoring 2 runs or less. Ike tonight has walked twice and lined out to second base. Wilton Lopez trying for a 4-out save, and Davis takes a changeup outside, a ball and a strike. Matt Harrison had his no-hit bid broken up in the 7th inning by the Twins. Texas still leading that game 7-0 in the 7th. And Davis fouls it back, and Lopez ahead in the count 1-2. Justin Turner on deck, then Scott Hairston. The Mets at a point in their season where there are still 36 games to go after tonight. It's not like this is the last week of the season and you kind of shrug your shoulders. It could be a lot of pain to go if they cannot find their way out of this funk in a hurry. Tonight they would fall to 12 games under 500 as their record has gone into free fall since the All-Star break. 2-2, and Davis chasing a pitch out of the strike zone, and he's out for the first out of the 9th.
Chases a bad one here, and really not a whole lot of movement. I mean, you know he's going to throw that little sink, and that didn't even sink. So it's just a lot of frustration, a lot of people trying to do too much.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Justin Turner, who's 1 for 2. He's also been hit by a pitch tonight. Justin getting the start with Daniel Murphy getting a couple of days to rest. He's held up his end. But the Mets have done little else. They got a home run from David Wright in the 4th inning, but that's all they've been able to score tonight against a Houston team that came in with the 2nd worst staff ERA in the National League after the Mets were held in complete check by the team with the worst ERA in the National League the last 4 days, the Rockies.
And only 4 hits.
Fly ball, shallow right center. Bogusevic in, and the Mets are down to their final out of the night and going very, very quietly. Scott Hairston will be the batter. Hairston came up as a pinch hitter for Valdespin in the 7th, hit a comebacker, and then stayed in the game in left field. Fans sticking around with Sergio Vargas set to lead the merengue concert after the game.
Were you staying?
Staying for
the concert,
for the post-game show.
Of course, you have to.
Got a day game tomorrow, Keith.
I know. Are you telling me?
Ball strike to Hairston.
I'm ready.
Now, not only is Sergio Vargas here, but Raymond and Miguel are here. Juliana is here, and El Batallon all playing tonight with Sergio. There's a call strike, and it's 0-2. The Mets on the verge of falling to 9-4 all time on merengue night. It's the first merengue night at Citi Field. First one since 08, the last year of Shea. Lopez trying to put on the finishing touches, and Hairston pops one foul to stay alive. The Astros waiting to celebrate. They have not had many wins to shake hands after. With 7 wins in their last 50 games. An almost incomprehensible stretch. Tony DeFrancisco can almost taste his first big league win. Still 1 strike to get. And Hairston just got a piece to hang in there. What must be going through his mind day after day after day, watching this run of futility from his offense. How many different ways can you shake up your lineup? How many different speeches can you give?
The depths of mortar.
Now Lopez deals the 0-2, and Hairston fists one foul. And he's still in there. Tony DeFrancisco managed for 17 years in the Oakland farm system, 2 years in the Astros system before getting the call when Brad Mills was fired last week. Maybe a candidate for his own job at the end of the year. That remains to be seen. But right now, just trying to get his first win. And Terry, who once managed the Astros, watching his team in the depths of despair. Here's the 0-2 to Hairston, and it's upstairs, and Lopez still trying to put it away. And Hairston lifts one to center field. Brandon Barnes circles in. He's right there waiting. And the ball game is over. The Astros get the first victory for Tony DeFrancisco as a major league manager. They snap a 7-game losing streak and win for just the 8th time in their last 51 games. The Mets, meanwhile, lose for the 6th straight time. They're held to just a run on 4 hits. 7 straight games with 2 runs or less as the Mets offensive blackout continues.
Well, the pitcher says 1,000 words, and this team is whipped into the ground, and too many guys trying to do too much. You know, when your offense is struggling like this, and 4 hits tonight, 1 run, it's just another bitter loss and another bitter ending of a ball game in the second half of this season that just has fallen apart for the New York Mets.
The only bright moment, David Wright's home run, the 200th of his major league career, but that's all the Mets got tonight as the Seton Hall grad Tony DeFrancesco celebrates for the first time as a big league manager as he gets the victory in his 5th try. Game summary brought to you by Time Warner Cable. Mets fall a dozen games under 500. John Neese was okay, but not good enough over 7 innings as he falls to 10-7 on the year. Wilton Lopez gets the 4-out save for Jordan Lyles, who's now 5-18 in his major league career. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by AT&T. Rethink possible. By Nissan. Get to Nissan for the biggest savings under the sun at Nissan Summer Saving Days. Visit ChooseNissan.com or your local Nissan dealer. By Partners Executive Transportation, driving you around the world. By Bank of America. By your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. And by Macy's. Astros win it 3-1 in the opener of this weekend series. Game 2 of the series will be seen on Pix 11 tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. R.A. Dickey will try and stop the bleeding for the Mets. Left-hander Fernando Abad goes for Houston. Our next SNY telecast Tuesday night when the Mets begin their road trip in Philadelphia. Now for Keith Hernandez, Kevin Burkhardt, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen at Citi Field. Time for WB Mason post-game live. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda, guys.